In today's video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I clean seats, carpets and floor mats. So I'm going to be using my Vax SpotWash Pet-Design Max, which has become a staple of my interior detailing kit since I received it about 5 months ago. And Vax also have kindly sponsored this video. And as always, there's going to be a link in the description to the equipment and the chemicals that I'm using. So the test subject for this demo is going to be this Audi A4, which hasn't had a Wet-Vac in about 2 years and has done at least 30,000 miles since the last extraction. And over this period has accumulated quite a few stains, some lingering odours, and a general dullness and greyness to all the fabrics. So I'm going to be showing you in depth how I bring these surfaces back to life. So once I've given the interior a proper vacuum, I filled up the Vax SpotWash with their antibacterial solution. So there's some graduations on the side, so you can fill it to a certain point with water and then top it up with solution. The markings on the sides show it for 2 different area sizes. And here I filled it to the max possible as I was doing a lot of extraction on this car, but if you're just using a small area then you don't have to fill it up all the way. The setup is basically complete after this point, it's just a case of slotting the attachments into place, plugging it in and turning it on. Now when doing any extraction on the car, I typically like to start with the seats first to give them a maximum amount of time to dry out, and it also stops me stepping on any freshly cleaned carpets. So I like to work a section at a time and give the area a thorough spray using the solution inside the Vax by just giving that trigger a squeeze. Once I've got a decent amount of solution down, I just give it a couple of minutes to soak on its own to really soften the dirt before I start agitating. Now when it comes to the agitation here, I do use the brush that comes included with this machine, but I do like to actually remove it from the nozzle attachment as I just find it a little bit easier and quicker to use. If you do want to just keep it attached to the nozzle and you don't want to keep taking it off again, then it's a good idea to just turn the machine off whilst you do this to avoid accidentally extracting any solution before you've had enough chance to actually agitate it. If you want to make your life a little bit easier, then you can use the spin scrub tool that comes with this machine that does have a rotating brush head, or you have the option of using a drill brush too. Once I'd really agitated the solution, I then turned the machine back on and began to extract it. The slower you go here, the more solution you're going to be able to extract, and I like to put a little bit of pressure down just to help with this process. I also find here that removing the brush attachment on this machine does allow me to get a little bit better angle to allow me to extract as much solution as possible, and I generally find with this machine that going over the area twice is sufficient, particularly on the first pass. Now depending on how dirty the area that you're extracting is, you have the option of repeating this process. Here I did do that as I really wanted to get all this ingrained dirt and sweat out of those fabrics so they really were as clean as possible. Now once I've done this, I do like to spray some clean water down, agitate and then extract again. The reason being is it does help to pull out any remaining dirt but without using too much chemical, so it's just a little bit more economical way to use it. And then also it does help to flush out any of the chemical that's left in the seats. So of course with this you can actually swap things around, so rather than putting water in a spray bottle and spraying that down afterwards, you can put it in the actual Vax machine as well and then spray your chemical down. It's totally up to you which way you do it, and it's not an essential step, it's just something optional that I do like to do. Now when I'm happy that the solution that I'm pulling up is as clean as possible, I do like to wipe the area with a microfiber towel. This serves the purpose of helping the seats dry out a little bit quicker and also can stop some potential wicking, which is when you can experience some sort of lighter spots on the fabrics once they're fully dry, if the extraction hasn't been quite as thorough. You can also just leave the microfiber towel on the seats as well if this is something you're having a problem with. Now when it comes to actually extracting the carpets, the process is largely the same. I just spray down the solution, agitate and then extract, and I do like to repeat this process at the end using clean water. Now whether I actually do this step or not on the carpets does really depend on the quality of them. With this being an Audi, the carpet quality is really good, which makes them nice and easy to both vacuum and extract. Now if on the other hand I'm dealing with carpets that are a little bit cheaper, and you'll know which ones I mean because they'll be a nightmare to vacuum, and they typically resemble the structure of Velcro, then I don't generally tend to extract these, as they are fairly delicate and can quite easily get chewed up even just by vacuuming. So in that case I will just spray the cleaner, wipe and see where I'm at. In some cases though, extraction is necessary, particularly if there are any more stubborn stains and odours. Now generally I will tend to do the mats last, as these are the least important when it comes to drying out quickly. So after these have been given a thorough vacuum, I will spray the chemical, agitate and extract as usual. An alternative method which I've used in the past is to actually saturate the mats using the pressure washer and then agitating the chemical as well. I can then just use the Vax to extract that dirty liquid and to help the mats dry out faster. Now this can work really well on heavily soiled mats. However, the disadvantage is that it does take them a long time to dry using this method, and it takes a decent amount of time to actually extract them. So particularly as I'm going into winter, I tend to do that method less. and just stick with using this piece of equipment. I also try not to pop the mats back in the vehicle until they're fully dry, and ideally I'll place them in the sun if there is any. This just stops the interior of the vehicle fogging up. Now I just wanted to go through a few tips that apply to most of the vehicle when it comes to getting the best results using an extractor. Now when I'm actually spraying the solution down, I do typically use the Vax to do this. However, you might have noticed that it does have quite a wide spray pattern, so you can get a bit of overspray onto areas that you're not extracting at the same time. For this reason, I do generally do the extraction process at the start of cleaning the interior just after vacuuming, and I'll leave cleaning all the plastic, steering wheel, etc. to the end of the process so that I don't have to wipe any overspray off. You of course do have the option as well of using the solution in a spray bottle, which allows you to have a bit more of a direct application, or you can cover adjacent areas with a microfiber towel if you are using the machine to spray that solution down. And also you can get a little bit closer to avoid this overspray. One thing that's important to do when extracting is to not forget certain areas like the back of the seats and the sides too. These tend to get dirtier than you'd expect, particularly the lower sections if you have kids in the back of the car, which are booting the backs of the seats, which I shamefully remember doing as a child. And also don't forget areas like the armrests on the centre console or on the doors, as a lot of the time these are made from fabrics and can get surprisingly dirty, so it's well worth doing this step on these areas too. Another tip is to make sure you work in sections too. Don't apply the solution to the entire seat, both the bottom and the backrest, and then try and extract it, as the solution can dry out a little bit quicker and you won't get the most out of the extraction. So I personally like to work a section at a time, doing either the backrest or the bottom of the seat and thoroughly going through that process. I also like to put the front seats as far back as possible to make my life a little bit easier when it comes to the extraction, but also to make sure I'm not missing any bits. When it comes to drying out the car quickly, I do find that blotting it with a microfiber towel is really helpful, and if you have the luxury of being able to park the vehicle in the sun, then this makes a massive difference. I've had times where it's taken about 45 minutes for the seats to fully dry out after a proper extraction when parked in the sun on a warm day. But particularly as we're going into winter, this becomes a little bit more difficult, so try and do this at the start of the day if you can, so you're giving the seats plenty of time to dry out and it's not kind of getting humid in the car overnight. I do like to do this step at the start of the detail, and I'll leave the car doors open when I'm around the vehicle to again help the interior dry out fully. On the day here I could get a decent bit of sun on the vehicle, and although it wasn't a particularly warm day, I was able to get the interior dry in about 4 hours. In terms of how much solution I actually used here to clean this car, I used just over a tank, and that was with being fairly liberal and doing the backs of the seats, carpets, mats and armrests, so it had a very thorough treatment. If you're just doing the fronts of the seats and the mats, then half a tank is about right usually. This equated to just shy of a full tank of dirty water, but remember that I was using water as well for that final extraction, so I was pulling out more than just the solution that was applied. You're always going to end up with less solution in your dirty tank, that's absolutely fine, but do just make sure that you are extracting as much as possible, and on that final go you really shouldn't be pulling up all that much liquid. As you can see here, the solution that I pulled up was pretty disgusting, and this was just from one interior. So I do always like to use the self-clean function on this machine once I've done with the extraction. So this just involves disconnecting the nozzle and plugging that hose into that self-clean port at the back, running it for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then it's good to go. This just means that there isn't going to be any disgusting water sitting around in that hose, which can get pretty disgusting. I then will always empty that dirty tank as soon as possible and give it a really good rinse out, again to make sure that there's nothing lurking in there. And with the accessories too, I do like to give them a really thorough rinse and dry before tidying them away. So here are a few before and afters on these seats, and hopefully you can see that there was a really nice improvement. Not only did the seats look a lot better, but they also felt a lot softer as well, and there was an overall very noticeable, much nicer scent in the car too. So if you are interested in picking up one of these machines, then you can use the code MAX, which will get you £80 off the machine and a free solution. So I will pop a link to this machine as well in the description so you can easily find it. I also will pop a link on the end screen of this video and in the video description to my original demo of this particular Vax SpotWash, which will give you a little bit more information on what it comes with and how to use it in case you're looking to do a little bit more research. If you have enjoyed this particular video though, it would be brilliant if you could drop it a like, and thanks very much for watching.